sinners, and saints. Dust off those horns and halos. It's time for Alan After Dark.
Some days I just want to sit around and just watch porn all day long. Oh, shit. Damn it. Sorry, sinners and saints. I'm trying to get dressed for happy hour, and I'm having a kind of problem here. I tripped on my sock. Leave it to me to trip over a sock, right? That's just how I roll, I guess, these days. Jesus. But anyway, how y'all doing? I hope you're feeling well. I hope you're feeling sexy. I know you're looking fabulous, getting ready for the weekend or for a night out or for a night in. Hopefully in some hot stud that you've been wanting to fuck forever. Yeah, I'm feeling a little frisky tonight, so bear with me here. You know, one of the big things in the news recently was the pardons that President Biden provided for ex-gay military personnel that were convicted under that ridiculous law about gay sex, that you could be arrested for having consensual gay sex while in the military. I don't think people realize that that happened. I don't think people realize that some men served time in prison over that. I think that it's really important for us older guys in the gay community to keep talking about the things that happen to gay people, gay men in particular, that always seem to be the target of government wrath. And if we don't talk about it and it doesn't make the news, the younger generations won't know. One of the reasons to do this is to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself. If everybody in the younger generations realize how bad it was and that there are people out there determined to take us back to that time, they'll be more willing to fight back. At least I hope. Just imagine for a second what that was like. You are a soldier in the military, willing to lay down your life for your country. You happen to be gay. You get busted for having consensual gay sex. You're charged, you're put on trial, you're convicted. If you were lucky, you were just thrown out of the military. You would lose your benefits. But if you were really unlucky, you served time in prison for quote unquote sodomy. Can you believe that? Think about that for just a second. A practice between consenting adults, and you wind up in prison, and you have that conviction on your record that can haunt you for the rest of your life. Now, I've already heard people complaining, well, why didn't President Biden do it sooner? I don't know. But why was it being done in the first place? Go back to way back when and remember that. This is progress. It is moving forward. We have to enjoy these wins when we get them, because I've got a very frightened feeling that in the future, these types of wins will be few and far between. You know, I gotta confess that porn with a military theme, yeah, that's one of my things. I gotta really be honest about that. That is a real turn on. There is a classic porn that was called Military Men that had two of the hottest scenes that I can ever remember when I was young and sneaking around to watch porn. This is before you had the internet, just FYI. So it wasn't just as simple as accessing a website or streaming something. You had to find it. You had to hope that the video stores that had an adult section had a few gay porns. In a place like Tennessee, I promise you there were very few. So what did you do? Well, how I got into it, I would go and buy porn magazines because of the guys that were in them. And you had to sneak. So you would get like a Playboy, but you would hide the Playgirl underneath it. But when they would ring it up, they wouldn't say anything. And nobody around you would notice that you had bought one of each. But in those magazines, there would be ads for gay porn. And that's how I started. I ordered something through the mail. It was like in a brown envelope, looked just like a standard package of some kind. And you kept them hid. And you hope that your mom never went too much through your stuff in your room and find it. But anyway, so those of you young folks that are over the age of 21 or 18, it's 18, right? Yeah. At least you have access to the World Wide Web, and you can stream things and look at things on your phone even if you wanted to. Much, much easier than buying a DVD or a VHS tape and trying to keep it hid. Unless your parents were okay with everything, and if you had that kind of parents, well, you were really lucky, weren't you? Most of us weren't. One of the guys that was in those movies at the time, his porn name was Jeff Quinn. And I just thought he was just one of the cutest guys. He was the blonde-haired, blue-eyed type, but very macho in his way. He kind of broke the mold in a way. He wasn't like the overly hairy, macho, cigar-smoking kind, but he was just a very sexy, cute guy who both topped and bottomed. But he did a lot more bottoming than he did topping. Oh, I'm getting caught up in it now. Oh, goodness. Let me take a moment, please. I don't know if you've heard of a porn company called Active Duty. I think his name is it Dirk Flamingo? I think is his name. He was part of that organization, or he was connected with it somehow. Anyway, that company, they sought out men in the military. They would kind of find these men maybe in the bars around the military bases, and they would offer them money for jacking off, or if they were gay, they would provide them money for having sex, for starring in these porns. And it was a way for these guys to make some extra money and indulge in maybe their fantasies. But a lot of them were the target of this law and wound up getting busted and thrown out of the military. And I think when that was happening, and that was happening in the 80s as well, I think that's what led them to clamp down even more strongly on gay men in the military. They felt like it tarnished the image of the military, even though it provided me many, many hours of pleasure and joy watching them perform. And as far as I know, now there's still several men in the military that do gay porn on the side. But what the fuck business is it of the military, really? The argument they used to have for keeping gay people out of the government and out of, especially like the CIA and spying, they felt that a gay person could be easily blackmailed because most gay people were in the closet. I wonder how that works now. I wonder how many people that are spies are LGBTQIA. We'll never know, right? Because it's top secret, right? Well, I'm sure there are documents at Mar-a-Lago that are still hidden there somewhere that would reveal that too, if the orange turd hasn't sold those to the Russians or the Saudis or the Israelis or the United Arab Emirates, probably even Iran, for all we know. Anyway, I don't want to talk about the orange turd tonight, but he always seems to weasel his way into my conversations, doesn't he? Almost like a bad case of crabs. You know, you scrub, you use that red stuff, and they just keep coming back and back and back until you have to shave off all the hair, all your pubes and any hair around your crotch area, and hope for the best, and wash all your sheets and your clothes and make sure that there's none anywhere else lurking around. You may still have a couple somewhere you didn't see, and oh, sweet Jesus. Yeah, I equate the two things. I really do. I really do want to impress upon all of you how tough it was, how dangerous it could be just for being gay. You know, most people, you don't see our sex lives. You just might find out that somebody's gay or think they are. And based on that knowledge, you could have been fired, you could have been assaulted, murdered. And when the sodomy laws were in place for the entire country up until, God, just a couple of, 10, 15 years ago? But even in the 80s, in 1982, when the Supreme Court upheld sodomy laws, you could be arrested and put in jail for a consensual act in your own home. And it looks like there are people on the right wing, conservatives, aka the KKK. Wow, say that fast 3 times. Jesus. They want to take us back to that. They want to reintroduce sodomy laws. They want to punish gay people just because they need someone to be a villain. And it's easy to demonize us. And I know I've harped on this several times on several different episodes of Alan After Dark. But it does bear repeating every so often to remind all of you that if we don't stay on guard, it could happen again. We're already seeing it with women's rights. You think that they hold us in any higher esteem than they do women? No. Women are treated bad enough in this country. We're going to be treated even worse. So always be on guard. Be prepared to defend our rights. We need everybody to understand that we don't and we're not going to go back to the way it was before. And you guys know, I wish we could talk about dick every week. I really do. And, well, actually we do, don't we? Okay. But I still want us to remember we get to talk about dick because of the rights we've gained over all these decades fighting for them. Let's never forget that. Okay? Okay. You know, I realized that I haven't in a long time mentioned the Mohawk man at the grocery store. Well, primarily I haven't mentioned him because when I shop, I was never seeing him. Well, surprise, surprise, I had to go in on a different day, and lo and behold, there he was in the aisle, stalking that shelf, down on his knees, fresh cut, the tattoo along the right side of his head as prominent as the mohawk on top. That man is fine as fuck still. But he will not give me the time of day, I'm pretty sure. However, when I turned into that aisle, because I needed to get something on that aisle, not just to look at him, he looked straight up at me this time and offered me one of those warped, confused kind of smiles. As if like, oh, you caught me catching you looking at me, kind of thing, if you get it. It was a nice pick-me-up for the day. And of course, the bread guy was there, shoving his loaves up on those shelves. He has got some of the finest legs, I'm telling you. He always wears shorts, and he's so cute. The guy that was working there, who was always dressed to go out to the club with his tight clothes, I think he's already quit. But he was nice to look at, and the man was as gay as a picnic basket. But he sashayed it well, I'm telling you. Really hot, really good. But let me just say this. Mohawk man, if you happen to be listening, I know you're not, but quiero tu leche. You think my southern accent is bad in English? Imagine how that sounded in Spanish. You could say that I have a craving. Got milk? I remember going to the clubs dressed in camouflage, like military fatigues, and having dog tags. And that whole look, that version of drag, was a big deal for a couple of years there. And on occasion, you'll still see it on a bear night. Somebody dressed up as a military guy. And some of them are former military, for sure. I know a few. I've slept with a few. Who am I kidding? We didn't sleep. We sucked and fucked. You already knew that, right? I don't have to say slept together. That sounds so polite and it sounds so intimate, doesn't it? Do we really care? Does it really matter to you, your reputation? I mean, like the military guys that were convicted under that sodomy law. I'm sure their families accepted them, but imagine that tarnishing your future. You would be a hero in the gay community, but that could only carry you so far back then. But does it matter to you if someone called you shore leave, or if Dorothy Spornak accused you of being classified by the Navy as a friendly port? Would that be a bother to you? I don't recall. I guess some of us have had to deal with it a little bit, our reputations, but in thinking about it, hetero, gay, aren't all men striving to be sluts? I'm just saying, I think we are. I think that we are dragged around by our man stick more than we are our brains. That sexual drive, that desire makes us do stupid things. Now, that's not an excuse. Your brain can override the dumb stick. But I think in certain circumstances, we choose not to override the dumb stick, the man stick, the prick, the dick, the cock, all those things we call them.
Ugh. What are these?
Oh, I'm getting myself all fired up for tonight. Can't believe it, right? Alan excited about happy hour. Go figure, right? No, I'm hoping to see some really nice ass and some great dicks. Maybe get to suck a couple here or there. You never know, And obviously, if I was worried about my reputation, I wouldn't be putting all this in a podcast, now would I? One of the things that people talk about is like, well, one of the old sayings goes that if you want privacy, try to get attention. If you're trying to get attention, people won't pay attention to you, it seems like. The more you try to hide yourself, the more people want to dig into who you are, what you're doing, and so on. In a way, not having any secrets is the best way to have secrets. Because if you are an open book or an open shirt, open blouse, what are people going to say about you? If you're putting it out there yourself, what are they going to do? It's kind of hard for them to talk about you, right? When you're doing it yourself. There's no need, right? So I'm sure they express opinions about me, I'm sure. Well, you know what? Everybody does that. I know that even good friends, it doesn't mean to be harmful, but I'm sure that there's whispers like, oh my God, why is Alan wearing that to happy hour? What in the hell was he thinking? Or does he really eat that much? Or is he really on a diet? And it doesn't mean to be harmful. The ones that try to be harmful are the ones that deliberately tell lies to people to try to affect the way that person thinks of you. I've said it once and I'll say it 1,000 times. All you've got to do is ask me about anything you've heard about me, and I will clarify it one way or the other. Pure and simple. I won't ask who told you or anything like that. I just will clarify, yes, it's true. No, it's not. But isn't it a kick in the puss to think about that these people are saying things, they have nothing better to do with their life or their time than to talk about you that way? What do they really get out of it? Except for the reputation of being a gossip, usually about things that aren't even true. But you know what? We all do it, don't we? We all wind up talking about something that could be labeled as gossip. We're all guilty of it. So I guess, well, I might be throwing stones in a glass house, but the glass is already broken in mine. Well, here we are again at the end of another episode of Alan After Dark. I hope you've had fun and have been entertained as much as I have been entertained talking to you. Remember, take life by the balls and be real. We'll see you soon. Thank you.